FBI Field Report. On January 21, 1953, Rustin was arrested by the police department in Pasadena, California, as a suspected sexual pervert. He was charged with lewd vagrancy and sentenced to 60 days in the county jail.
That was pretty fast news through the pacifist community that Bayard had been arrested in Pasadena. All the other arrests he'd had were on grounds of principle. But this was an arrest where he knew he was wrong. I don't mean morally wrong because it was a sexual encounter. I mean it was stupid to get arrested on the backseat of a car with two guys in a public place, and he knew this.
When I arrived in Montgomery, Dr. King had very limited notions about how nonviolent protests should be carried out. When I first got there, the leadership had Dr. King's home protected day and night by men not only with shotguns, but with pistols.
What do you want?
I'm here to see Dr. King.
Nelson, who is it?
Good evening, Mrs. King. Bayard Rustin.
Bayard Rustin.
Excuse me.
Well, if Bayard Rustin is here, then I guess we've arrived.
Dr. King, I'm gonna be blunt. You're straying from the principles of nonviolence.
In what way?
You're the leader of a nonviolent movement, and yet you have guns in your home and these armed guards outside.
Let me ask you something, Mr. Rustin. Would you risk your family for a tactic?
Nonviolence is not a tactic.
Would you risk your family?
Nonviolence is an ideology.
I have
It's
an
a movement,
obligation
a way
to
of
protect my
life.
family and
It's a
defend my
religion.
home.
Well, the guns don't make me feel any safer.
Bayard was to him like an older brother. Martin Luther King was 25 years old. And he didn't have the history and the experience that Bayard shared with him. Bayard was somebody that could talk with him on his own intellectual level and help him think through the political and social and moral dilemmas that he was facing.
Howe made a speech in which he said to the press that there were immoral elements working in the civil rights movement. That message was clear. It was aimed at Bayard as the immoral element, and Bayard knew that they would bring up the arrest record if he didn't get out.
Adam Clayton Powell didn't want blacks picketing the Democratic Convention. In fact, he went so far as to warn King that if King did not withdraw his support from that demonstration, he would go to the press and say there was a sexual affair going on between me and King. Martin was so terrified by this threat that he decided he would get rid of me.
Over me, and before I'd be a slave.
25, 30 years ago, the barometer of human rights in the United States were black people. That is no longer true. The barometer for judging the character of people in regard to human rights is now those who consider themselves gay, homosexual, lesbian.
I grew up in the aftermath of Dr. Martin Luther King. I joined the New York branch of SCLC the year he died. I was 12 years old. I became the youth director of Operation Breadbasket in New York under Reverend Jackson at 13. A few years later, because of some differences in the organization, Reverend Jackson left, and therefore I left. And I decided to form my own youth group in New York. And I went to a man who gave me the money to start National Youth Movement named Bayard Rustin. And Bayard Rustin gave me the funds that started National Youth Movement and kept me going in civil rights. As I got to know Mr. Rustin, I got to know the history of how this ingenious and brilliant organizer and tactician had been with Dr. King as a chief strategist and tactician going back to Montgomery. But because of his being a homosexual, the FBI and others tried to morally blackmail Dr. King into shunning Bayard Rustin. And because of some of the homophobia in the church, try and isolate him. If we allow some latent or hidden bias of our own, inhibit the maximizing of a liberation struggle. Because they could not have attempted this blackmail had they not depended, Keith Boykin, on the homophobia of those that were involved in the movement. If there had not been homophobia, it would not even have been an issue.
Black issues are more important to me in terms of the collective of black people and what happens to us than simply my sexuality. Your talk, your behavior, and your actions are going to be on behalf of the progress of black people.
Meet Cleo Monago, a nationally known behavior, health, and cultural expert, lecturer, author, film producer, and self-identified critical thinker.
My focus is the restoration, health, healing, and mental health restoration in particular of black people.
He's the founder of a number of national organizations, most notably the Amasi Center for Wellness, Education, and Culture, and the Black Men's Exchange, a national group devoted to promoting healthy self and cultural affirmation among same-gender-loving men of African descent.
We need to learn to love ourselves in our own image as same-gender-loving people and be present in the midst of our own community, because when white folks call themselves lesbian and gay, they're still loving themselves in their own image.
So in efforts to promote self-love, he coined the phrase same-gender loving.
It's not about me as a reference point. It's about creating an option out there for our community to love itself in its own image and use our own culture and experience and background as our frame of reference.
What turns you on about men?
I'm turned on by brothers who are intelligent, who love themselves, where there's a spark between us. Somebody in good shape, somebody healthy.
Only brothers?
Predominantly, it's my preference.
When in bed, is like there like a man and then a woman?
Well, people always ask that, but you asked it more explicitly. It's just like the last question. It was quite explicit to what turns me on. Ain't your business. But no, I mean, same gender loving means just that we're two men who love each other. We are with each other because we're attracted to men.
Greetings, family. My name is Cleo Monago. I'm the founder of the Black Men's Exchange in New York, Harlem, Los Angeles, and Atlanta. That we're here is a clear sign that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan was very serious about inclusion. So I'm here to bring the perspective of a black man who's a same-gender loving black man. And these brothers on my side are part of the organization as well, and there's many of us out in the audience. That I'm up here indicates that the minister was very serious about us all coming together finally. I too am often called a black nationalist.
Now, Shatila is clear. He almost never stutters because he's clear.
Anybody in our community has to be defended and protected. First of all, I don't look for sexual identification or sexual orientation or anything like that. One. Two, Anybody, it's crazy to say you can't join the revolution and hate to fight and struggle to fight white power because you're homosexual. That's the most, I can't believe that is even conceptually something that is tenable. And I just think that I've seen this issue, especially on the continent of Africa, and especially among the so-called nationalist movement. Too much of that unity. And I've seen in Africa where Africans, heads of state are saying, kill homosexuals, arrest homosexuals. This is not African for homosexuality. Before, I was glad he was there because we needed ourselves, our organization needed an opportunity to make a statement that we defend and protect the African community, period. That there is no way that you can legitimize, not with this organization, the attack and oppression of people because of sexual orientation or anything like that.
So this New Year's a shout out to the giant called Tyler Perry, a spiritual giant, a magnificent human being, and I pray that this year his art, his greatness will shine even more in healing our people through mass projection of drama through film and plays.
Look, I was talking with a sister one day, and she mentioned one of my ministers. And she said, he was abused when he was young. I didn't say a word. But when she said that, I brought him up in my mind and I looked at him. Some of us are very authoritative because we're trying to be men because somebody did something to us. I had a wonderful helper in Brother Khalid Muhammad. Yes, sir. I met him as a student at Dillard University in Louisiana. He didn't have the best relationship with his mother. He was in foster homes, and only God knows what happens to our children when they're in these places. And so he always felt that he had to be more macho than anybody else. And I tried to civilize him and tell him how you can be a statesman, but you want to fight all the time and, show off this kind of power. And I didn't realize that my brother was affected by some abuse. I grew up under Brother Malcolm. He was my mentor. Malcolm had a problem with women. And if you read his autobiography and you read the latest book by Manning Marable, he never had a good relationship with his own mother. How many of us in places of authority don't know how to love because we didn't have a good relationship with our mother? I'm talking to you. See, if you don't have a good relationship with your mother, you don't know how to love. Because nurturing is what a mother does, and she does it out of love. And when you don't have that kind of relationship, you grow up not knowing how to love. Listen to me good now. Because if you're going to be a true Christian, the love of God has to be at the root of your words, the root of your actions. But when you don't know your mother and don't love your mother, you can't love nobody else. So nature makes you want a woman, but without love, you don't know what to do with a woman after you get her. Look, we're sick people now. I'm talking about...
I'll start with, why did you change your philosophy? Why did you go out on a limb and say gays are accepted in heaven, something that the black church disagrees with?
Well, not only the black church, the church disagrees with it. And my gay friends, and I have several over the years, were some of the most sensitive, loving, creative, ingenious, generous people. Some are members of my family. What would we do if Eddie Long really was involved in these relationships?
Jamal says the bishop began a slow sexual seduction, which became intimate and more intense after the young boys became of legal age. He says at one time he loved Bishop Eddie Long, but he can't escape the nightmare of what he says Long did to him as a young man.
I cannot get the sound of his voice out of my head, and I cannot forget the smell of his cologne. And I cannot forget the way that he made me cry many nights when I drove in his cars on the way home, not able to take enough showers to wipe the smell of him off of my body.
And then what do? Do we throw him away? Do we castigate him? He's a prince of a preacher. He's really a prince of a person. He's a generous spirit. He's an incredible work in this city.
What if he does come forward, Bishop, and say, I told you I wasn't a perfect man, and I've been struggling with this issue, and he does say that he's gay? What if this story changes? How will you deal with that? Will you accept him? Will you embrace him? How would you counsel him as his friend?
Well, I would put my arms around him like he did me and say, we will do you right. Those who really love the church and love Bishop will gather around him apostolically to embrace him and to let him talk to us.
Why is it so unacceptable to be a black man and to be gay and to lead a flock? Why is it so taboo?
Well, first of all,
it's not just biblical. I mean, there's a cultural
of
feeling
course.
Here.
Yeah, this is a wake-up call. Until the church, black or otherwise, confronts, not combats, confronts this issue of human sexuality and homosexuality, which is not going away. Homosexuals and homosexuality is not going away. If every gay person in our churches left, or those who have an orientation or a preference or an inclination or fantasy, if everyone left, we wouldn't have a church.
I hope I'm being clear with this because, look, brother, we're in 2014 right now. We're in a whole nother world. We are not in ancient Africa. Okay, so let's be real about this. If you have certain views that match with the way in which things you think happened in Africa, then I recommend you take the first flight back. Because in America, there's a whole new world out here. And it's not the strongest that survive. It is not the survival of the fittest.
Right.
Bottom line is that to survive are people who can adapt to the way in which the world is evolving. Because there is no place for people who cannot evolve into the world order.
See, may I say to my LGBTQ family, let me tell you something. See, those of us who are students of Elijah Muhammad, we're people. We don't ask you what your sexual preference is. we love you. We're not your judges. We want to work together to free our people completely. So to my family, this is my family. You'll never find me or us condemning you for what has become of us in our sojourn. Because all the holy ones who will point to a gay brother or sister are fornicators, adulterers, freaks, and everything else. So who of us can throw a stone at the next one? None of us. Look at them, brothers and sisters. Now, brothers,
And that is a young guise who many of you know. Some of you know Guise has an incredible following on the internet, and we had stalled just in terms of the GoFundMe raising money for this conference. I think we were stuck at someplace like $330, and Guise did a couple of pieces, a couple of videos, and we ended up with 3,130 something. And if you don't know Guise, you should. You should go and watch his stuff. He does incredible stuff. Yeah, so I just wanted to acknowledge him.
Shit. But let me tell you the one comment that really got on my motherfucking nerve was the comment that somebody wanted to post and said, oh, would Marcus Garvey approve of Guise? I organize Sunday rallies every motherfucking week in the middle of the hood for Africans in the black community to get political education about what's going on in their community. What the fuck have you done, nigga? What the fuck have you done? Yes, Garvey would love the fuck out of Guise. Garvey would love that shit. Garvey would love that shit. I mentor the youth. I mentor the young and African revolutionary youth, nigga. Shout out to Cleo. Shout out to Jay. Shout out to Akile. Shout out to Eric. Shout out to Takaya. Shout out to Boogie. Motherfucker, the fuck is you? The fuck are you doing, ashy fake deep niggas? The fuck is you doing? Talking about you love the African woman, but you fucking hate effeminization? Fuck out of here. The fuck is you talking about, nigga? The fuck is you fucking talking about? I promote a revolutionary organization paper, The Burning Spear, that because of my videos gets thousands and thousands of news subscriptions every motherfucking week. A paper that puts the world in a revolutionary point of view for African internationalists. Yes, Garvey would love the fuck out of me. I have a column in that newspaper. Garvey would love the fuck out of me. Garvey wouldn't see you, nigga. Garvey wouldn't know who the fuck you were, nigga. That's why you mad, nigga. Ashy fake deeps. Y'all ain't worth shit. The fuck out of here. I'm helping organize and going to be a part of a Halloween event for the kids in the community, giving them candy substitutes, healthy candy substitutes, having them work out for the candy, having haunted houses and performances and all that kind of motherfucking stuff in the poor working class community, nigga. Garvey would love the fuck out of me. Garvey would love the fuck out of Guise. Garvey would love the fuck out of me. I'm here with the Huru movement pushing African charged genocide petition. I'm here with the Huru movement and now have become a leader within the Huru movement. I moved from all the way from California, dropped my whole life, committed class suicide, moved all the way to Florida, and now have become a leader in the Huru movement.
We're queer. We're gonna rule the world. We're young. We're queer. We're gonna rule the world.
Check 1 2 1 2. Let's get some volumes in here. Check 1 2 1 2 1 2. My offer the great disaster. Don't get confused about my way of life. It's not gangster, it's militant, ill intent. I mastermind and leave a federal building bent. Build a tent and live in the wilderness. Shop in a tree branch, in a river spearing fish. I'm fearless. Every now and then you might find a video of me through my media pipeline. It's wartime. Check 1 2. The irritated genie.
The one who would crack the what?
Southpaws in the house.
So we call him the cracker because he cracked the foundation of the black community with the black woman.
It's a war on the horizon.
One thing has been consistent with our people.
Let's go, Paul. They say Zeus descended as an eagle and kidnapped this young boy named Ganymede. He forced this young boy to be his lover. How sick is that? The Greek god known as Zeus was a twisted cat. They say he had many faces and wore many hats.
The lascivious behavior of the elite Greek male was mirrored in the antics of his gods. The all-powerful Zeus was a philandering husband whose sexual appetites ran the gamut from goddesses to mortal women to young boys.
Homosexuality accepted by blacks, but when I backtrack, I see no history as European trickery. We weren't involved in such white sex acts. You disagree, the burden's on you to prove it existed. In Africa, amongst the original Egyptians, show me bestiality and Kemet. Show me pyramids where homosexuality was represented. The image imprinted. You can't cause it ain't culture. Wrong for fighting this 10,000-pound gorilla in a song. Bring it on. Am I wrong for fighting this 10,000-pound gorilla in a song? Bring it on. Am I wrong for fighting this 10,000-pound gorilla in a song? Bring it on. Am I wrong for fighting this 10,000-pound gorilla in a song? Bring it on. Julius Caesar was every man's wife and every woman's husband. Columbus raped Indian boys by the dozen. The Middle Passage, blacks yelling and suffering across the Atlantic. Chained down in pain, somehow they survived. Although effeminized by the white bandits, death and disease left some slaves stranded, floating in the ocean where their bodies were examined by the sharks. And in the dark they would follow, waiting for a taste of this human cargo. Those sharks didn't swallow, were put on sex farms, made it and forced to use white sex norms. Incest, sex with your cousin and your sister. How could you forget all that they done to us? Am I wrong for fighting this 10,000-pound gorilla in a song? Bring it on. Am I wrong for fighting this 10,000-pound gorilla in a song? Bring it on. Am I wrong for fighting this 10,000-pound gorilla in a song? Bring it on. Am I wrong for fighting this 10,000-pound gorilla in a song? Bring it on. James Baldwin and William Styron were interracial homosexual lovers that decided to architect and construct a new version of Nat Turner's life that will marginalize them. Damn, James, how you do that? Team up with a cracker to downplay what Nat did with an axe to the master. You knew when Nat Turner meant the blacks. I read your poems, you had your hands on the pulse of the people. It seems that Nat Turner represent the dangerous road before Martin King. Maybe you should review the roots. A literary genius, why'd you let this William come between us? Nat Turner lives and he'll always be seen as the meanest slave ever, the cracker beheader. Am I wrong for fighting this 10,000-pound gorilla in a song? Bring it on. Am I wrong for fighting this 10,000-pound gorilla in a song? Bring it on. Am I wrong for fighting this 10,000-pound gorilla in a song? Bring it on. Am I wrong for fighting this 10,000-pound gorilla in a song? Bring it on. NAMBLA, the North American Man-Boy Love Association, teamed up with gays and fought for rights. They all sick, one and the same. They think it's okay to screw boys at 14.
It's wrong that we have laws in America that criminalize sexual behavior, things like the age of consent law and sodomy repeal, and we're going to see that those laws will fall.
They gone insane, jump shot, dribble, bounce pass, it's all the same game, blow the whistle. They foul fags, more than a little. And why we practicing their sex rituals? some say I'm spewing hate. I say they used African babies as alligator bait. Let me navigate up to 2008, 2009, 2010. They selling black kids to homosexual men and lesbos too, man, we gotta step in. Am I wrong for fighting this 10,000-pound gorilla in a song?
See a time in which we as a nation finally recognize relationships between two men or two women as just as real and admirable as relationships between a man and a woman.